the nation. This is a simple truth town hall meeting. And the reason we're calling it a simple truth town hall meeting is because people are scared. People just don't know what's going on in Washington. They don't know what's in the Obamacare bill that's now law. These 5 binders here are the Senate bill that was passed by the U.S. House before we did the reconciliation. But my bill and the 70 Republican bills that have been introduced have not seen the light of day. Why? Because Nancy Pelosi and the liberals in Congress want one thing. They want socialism. They think we're too ignorant to run our own business. But let me assure you, the Republican Party now today in Congress is a different Republican Party than was in place when George Bush and the Republicans in the House and the Senate during the 107th, 108th, and 109th Congress created a tremendous amount of government spending. It's a different party today. What's left of the party that was there then, I hear a different tune today. If we get back into power, we are the party of no, so we can create jobs, create a strong economy, lower your cost of health care, leave you and your doctors how health care decisions are made. And that's what we're going to continue to fight for. Yes, sir.
Well, Paul, I'm Al Gray. I'm from
originally
from down in Columbia County, and I've moved up here in recent years. And I actually started voting Republican when it would get your butt whipped in Columbia County. And I have to add that I had a great big Paul Broun sign on my property.
Thank you.
Even when it was very unpopular in Columbia County because we had a local boy that was running against you.
Right.
And I appreciate what you had to say about Senator DeMint, great man. Ron Paul, I supported him for president last time. Unfortunately, not too many people saw the wisdom of voting for the gentleman. I think that was a grand mistake. My question for you is, I think that your reliance on Republicans is terribly misguided. Republicans they campaigned and took office and took control in 1994 on the contract with America, and it talked about term limits and balanced budgets and a lot of good things that just didn't happen. In addition to that, you had principles of the Republican Party. It talks about government that works best is closest to the people. It talks about balanced budget and fiscal responsibility. In this state, we have 2 senators, Senator Isaacson and Senator Chambliss. We've got members of Congress, your colleagues, principally Kingston and Linder and Nathan Deal, and the rest of them that were on the delegation, save Charlie Norwood. Charlie didn't believe in any of that stuff. These folks proceeded to double the debt during George Bush's 2 terms in office. They voted for No Child Left Behind that took power away over education locally and gave it to Washington, D.C.
I was against that. Still am.
Well,
I call it leave no teacher unshackled.
and then in 2003, now my mother gets it, and everybody, I'm sure a lot of people in this room like it, but Medicare D was the biggest unfunded social program since Lyndon Johnson. There wasn't any money to fund it. So now we find ourselves, if you take the unfunded liabilities of this government projected out, each family of 4 in this country owes $1,200,000, and the average family makes less than $50,000. That's not going to work, and as you just talked about, that is the seeds of destruction and the seeds of ruin.
Right.
And what I got from you was, this Jobs Act and everything, it's real nice, cutting taxes, but the money's got to come from somewhere, and we're borrowing it from China.
Right.
And what I don't hear from you is we've got to make draconian cuts in spending. And where is the courage in the Republican Party to do that? I don't see it. All I saw for the last 8 years they were in office was doubling the debt.
Well, and I blame Republicans just like you do during George Bush. George Bush was a big spender. He brought us No Child Left Behind. He brought us the Part D program, which actually was started by Bill Clinton. So that was the Democratic Party's program that George Bush pushed through. And there are Republicans that still brag about and revel in their vote for that. I would have voted against it because we can lower the costs and make medicines affordable for folks. We can do it in a different way without expanding the size of government, expanding the scope of government. The problem is, in our country, is that we have a political system that's basically geared towards two parties. And a third party, particularly if it's a conservative party, for instance, the Constitution Party here in Georgia, a good friend of mine runs that, Ricardo Davis from Atlanta. And it is one that believes in the Constitution as I do. It's pro-life just like I am. It basically, if you look at the Constitution Party platform, that's my platform. But the way the game is set up, the political game, the way the elective process is set up, is for two parties. So the question is, do we leave the Republican Party, or do we leave the Democratic Party and form a third party, a fourth, a 10th party? California has double-digit parties. They'll have 10 or 20 parties. Or do we try to reform what we have? And the way it's set up, actually, in this state, it's very difficult for any third-party candidate, even a Libertarian Party, which has the greatest ballot access. So that's a problem. And we've got, what I've said all along, as you can remember in 2007, is I've said all along that I didn't like what the Republican Party was doing, that it lost its moorings of limited government, low taxes, and very little intrusion in people's lives. We need to push it back to those moorings. And that's what I'm trying to do, and we'll continue to try to do.
But they're the same people. I mean...
Well, I'm new there. I wasn't part of that. There are a lot of people that are new there. We're fixing to elect a lot of folks around this country that aren't big government Republicans. We've had too many rhinos, Republicans in name only. So I think you're going to see a different Republican Party, and if not, then the American people are not going to stand for it.
Well, I agree
I think a lot of people are going to decide it's time for a third party. It's time for realignment, and maybe it is time. Maybe we're right on the cusp of that happening. I don't know.
I don't believe a third party is necessary. All we need is Republicans to go to the principles they told us that they stood for.
I agree with you.
And they haven't done it. And I've got another question.
Well, you know I've been fighting for them ever since I've been there, and thank you for your continued support, because I'll continue to fight to make the Republican Party, one, of fiscal responsibility, limited government, and of the free market, free enterprise system.
Well, my second question...
That's the glue that holds Republicans together, in my opinion.
Well, my second question regards the financial crisis we've gone through and what's going on kind of behind the scenes. We've got a situation that's I think is really the grandest theft in the history of the world that's taken place against the people of this country and everybody in this room. And all the bailouts, all they've done is that they've enriched Wall Street and they've stolen from Main Street.
Right. I agree.
I mean, it's like, as a result, if you look at these guarantees that are given out, Warren Buffett's the richest man in the world. Well, if you follow the pattern of what he's got 9.5% guaranteed by the United States government return on his investment, whereas the folks in this room, the best they can get is 1% or 1.5%.
Mm-hmm. It's not right. I voted against every single one of those bailouts, every single one of these so-called stimulus bills, which are non-stimulus bills or jobs bills. And I'll continue to fight against them, and you're right. George Bush brought us TARP, the Toxic Assets Relief Program. At least the first half of it. Barack Obama brought us the second half. I voted against every one of those because I knew that they weren't the right things. George Bush was a big spender. And the Republicans, under the leadership during the first part of his administration, decided that they were going to do just what the Democrats are doing. We lost our moorings, and I blame the Republican Party. And the American people blamed the Republican Party and said, no, we're not going to put up with you anymore. We're going to throw you out of office, and that's what they did in 2006. That's what they did in 2008, not only with the Congress, but also the presidency. But America, I don't think, understood when Barack Obama was talking about fundamentally changing America that they were going to lose their freedom, that he wanted to fundamentally change America into a socialistic country. We've had a greater nationalization of our economy over the last, since January of 2009, greater nationalization of our economy than his good buddy Hugo Chavez, the communist dictator in Venezuela, has done in that country. And we have a clear picture of where that's leading us. We can look at another one of Barack Obama's good buddies, countries just off the Florida coast, Cuba. That's where he's trying to take us. And I'll do everything I can to stop it. And the American people are going to be my partners and others to join together in doing that. And we've got to push the Republican Party back to its moorings.
Well, I've always felt the Democrats were, as you said, Marxists. But I think
Not all of them.
I think the Republicans are socialists.
Well, there's some that are, yeah.
Well, not all of them, because John Barra, he's pretty much voted a conservative. He's voted the way his district would have him vote, I think, for the most part, and so he's an exception to the rule. But I guess my last thing is as part of this financial meltdown, the last time something like this happened with the savings and loan scandal, 1,000 bankers went to prison. This time, there's not been one.
Right.
Fitch Ratings is one of the only institutions to look at these toxic assets and everything that's gone on. Mm-hmm. And in their investigation, they said that every file they looked at bore evidence of fraud. And those things haven't been investigated. The Fed has been buying them up by the trillions, and they're still toxic. And they will never be worth much because of the way they were put together. And I won't get into all the ramifications of that or the details of that, because it's very complicated. Mm-hmm. But, where are the prosecutions? Where's the government been? What we're talking about goes to the very essence of a civilized society, and I'm afraid that the money situation is going to blow this whole situation apart. I thank you for your service. I thank you for your voting record. If you had the voting record of Johnny Isaacson, I would run against you.
Thank you.